Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So, in this series, I'm going to cover all the basic concepts of JavaScript and all of its fundamentals. So, let's get straight into it. So, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a lightweight programming language that is integrated with HTML, and it is one of the most popular languages that is used in the web development nowadays. If you are a software engineer or are planning to get into web development space, this is the language that you need to and must know in order to do the web development. So why JavaScript? Well, JavaScript has a lot of uses and advantages to it. It is one of the frameworks that allow you to make your static HTML web pages dynamic, and you can also make it interactive. You can do a lot of things with your static HTML pages. You can update the styles, add styles, you can manipulate the content, and you can do a lot of stuff with your HTML content itself. Then it also allows you to do client-side validations. Now, for example, you have a lot of HTML forms and you want to validate all the inputs that the form takes into consideration. So, in order to do the client-side validation, you need JavaScript and you need to check all the conditions and check the input if it is correct or not. That is another use case where you can make use of JavaScript. Another very popular use case is connectivity with the backend. Now, in most of the websites, you have a lot of data pulled from database. You have to do a lot of connectivity to the database. You have to store the content to the database. You have to update the things from the database. So there are various libraries like Ajax, Fetch that allow you to connect to the backend and retrieve the data, store the data to the backend again using JavaScript. And it can also be used to create a lot of notification and alerts on your website so that it'll be easier for the user to know why you're getting the alerts or create notifications as well. That's about the theoretical part. Now let's straight get into the practical piece. So, how do you write your first JavaScript code? It's basically written into this HTML file itself. So there are two ways to do it. You can write it inside a script tag like this. You can put it inside the body tag, or you can put it inside this head tag here. So for now, let's just go and put this into the script, into the body tag, and say document.write my first JavaScript code. Let's save it and see how it shows. So there you go. It's a very simple, basic, easiest form to write a JavaScript code. Now, you can put the same thing in the head and just update the message here, save it, and run it. So there you go. It shows up from the head tag and then it shows up from the body. This is the way you can write the script tag in the head and in the body tag. Now let's see how we can update the content of your HTML element. For example, let's have a div tag in here and say this is my div. Let's give an ID, call it div1, and let's save and see how it looks. So that is the div, and let's have a button, and this is going to update content of the div. So the way we do it using JavaScript is we make use of this ID, and inside here we will specify that this is going to be a type button, and there is an on-click event, and we will specify what we want to do in order to update this content of the div. So here we are going to say document dot get element by ID, and the ID that we want here is div1. Oh, actually we should put this in single quotes. Okay, and then specify the inner HTML equal to whatever content you want to update. So updated div1 content. Alright, so let's save this and run. So you see the button here. So when we click the button, the content of the div should get updated. There you go. That's how you can update the content of this div using JavaScript. Now there's another thing that you can do. You can add styles to it, or you can change the existing styles. So let's just put another button, and on click we will get the element by ID for div1 and change the style dot background color, and let's make it yellow. Save it, run it. Oh, let's change this update color. Okay, now let's update the content first and then update the color. So that's the way you can update the HTML content, the styles using JavaScript. Now instead of having the code in here, you can actually create a function and call the function here directly. So let's call the function as update color, and here we can write function update color and paste the code here. So now what will happen is you have this function here, and when you click, this function will get called. So let's save and run. There it is. So that's the way you can create JavaScript code in the HTML file itself. So now the other way to create the JavaScript functions is to put it into another separate file. So have all the logic related to JavaScript into a separate file and call the code from there. So let's go ahead and create a folder, call it JS, and a file in here called script.js. Let's create a function here. Actually, we can just copy paste this guy, cut this from here and put it here, save it. And the way we will include it in here is we'll have script src equal to js script. That's it. We will save it and run it. Now if we call update color, see, so it got called from this script in here, and it is very easy to actually separate out all the logic from your HTML file. So it'll look cleaner, easier to maintain, and easier to code. Now let's look at the ways in which the output from JavaScript can be displayed. We've already seen inner.html and document.write. There's another one called as window.alert. So here you can basically just create any alert on the page, save it, and you actually will need a button to call the alert. So let's create a function for this. On click, create alert, and let's put this into that function. So save it, run it. There you go. You see the alert shows up on the page. Now I can again put this function in this file. Okay. Save it and clean the code up here and run it. So see, you see the alert. So this way I can have all the function calls in my HTML document and keep all the functions in here in the script file. So it just helps to keep the code clean. Now the other way, if you are into testing and debugging, if you want to debug some of your JavaScript code, then you can just write something called as console.log and say testing. And if you refresh, this is going to show up in the browser console. So if you right click, inspect, and go to console, so you see that displayed here. So this is very important and helpful when you want to test or debug any of your JavaScript code. So that's about it for this one, guys. I hope you liked the video. Please do subscribe to my channel and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.